Ex-girlfriend's parents shamed me for ending our relationship, so I sent them proof of her inappropriate jokes and hidden fantasies. I, 26 male, broke up with my girlfriend of 4 years Mary, 27F, about a month ago, because she asked me to open our relationship. It is /was/ and always will be a major line in the sand for me, something that I have opened up to her about in the past. We've had a great relationship and the only thing that stands out, and the only reason it stands out now is because of this situation, is she progressively started making a lot more sexual jokes about some of our shared friends over the last few months. Some involved her being with them and others were three-way jokes etc. I won't lie, I played along a little but I consistently made some joking response along the lines of you're more than enough for me and or I don't like sharing. Never took any of it seriously, because, why would I? Until she asked and I found out / realized that she was probably trying to gauge my response and see how open I was. Mary asked when we were getting ready for bed about a month ago kinda bluntly. I was scrolling on my phone and she was getting changed and goes, if I asked you to open the relationship, would you? This might sound super corny, but it was like I had an out-of-body experience and all of the above hit me at once. All the jokes and comments so far made sense in a she's trying to butter me up to the idea kind of way and went really numb for a second. To her credit, she must have seen how freaked out I was and asked if I was okay. I pretended I didn't hear her and asked her to repeat herself and she was really hesitant too, kept saying she didn't say anything, and only repeated it when I insisted. Then, I went to voice notes, set it to record and put my phone down to talk to her. I don't remember much of it, just that I tried to stay calm and keep her talking, but the note is just over an hour and a half long and it feels like I'm listening in to a conversation that happened between two strangers. She trickled truth all the way through it and ultimately stuck to the idea that she hadn't been cheating. She didn't have any one person in mind but had been fantasizing about mutual friends and people at work and seemed to get the idea that they'd be open to something if she asked. A lot of it is her being defensive and me trying to needle information out of her without it escalating into an argument. A lot of me placating her and trying to make her feel comfortable enough to keep talking. The apartment is mine and I suggested we take a break a few nights later, so she went to stay with a friend for the weekend. By the next Monday I'd spoken to some of my friends and my sisters, separately, and come to the conclusion that we were done and suggested she started looking for somewhere else to stay. She was upset but didn't really argue and had the vast majority of her stuff out, and at her parents' house, by the end of the week. So, coming to 2 days ago, her mom reached out over WhatsApp to say she was disappointed in how I'd handled everything. The message wasn't really framed in a way that she was reprimanding me, more that she wished we could have worked it out. She then added me to a group chat with her husband, ex's stepdad, and they both kinda tag-teamed me saying that we could work it out, I was making a mistake and that I shouldn't overthink things. I eventually got it out of them that my ex had fed them a very vague story that we had broken up because she'd wanted to take the next step in our relationship and that I'd freaked out, we'd argued and she'd been effectively kicked out. Her stepdad was leaning on the fact that he thought I was more mature than this, and her mom just kept repeating how disappointing this whole situation was. So, I was pissed. In the heat of the moment, I told them I had the recording of our conversation that I could send that would explain what she actually meant about taking the next step. I initially tried to email it to them, but it was being a ball ache so I eventually shared it via Drive. In the meantime, I took a few screenshots of my ex and I's messages, ones where she had made jokes and comments about sex with our friends and a lady from her office, and sent them along to that shared chat group. I haven't heard back since. Again, it's been 2 days, and I don't feel as vindicated anymore. A good few of my ex's comments were about other women, and I'm freaking out because I don't know how, if at all, open she's been about her sexuality with them. I also think I shouldn't have engaged at all and I shouldn't have felt the need to prove my innocence to either of them. Aita? I've checked in with friends, and over social media, and it doesn't look like there has been any fallout. Also, my ex blocked me a week ago, before I spoke to her parents, so I can't really contact her without going in person. And, at this point, is it too late to even give her a heads up or check in? To address a few points I have seen in multiple comment. We don't live in the US and we have no laws on recording private conversations on the books. I am not proud of doing it, but it wasn't illegal. Mary and I had several mature, calm conversations about what we both wanted out of this relationship. Mary wasn't sure if she wanted to stay and kind of admitted to self-sabotaging by asking about opening the relationship. Mary and I have been friends since we were 11. Her mom was my coach when I swam competitively and our friend group and families are very close and intermingled, so she was wary about what would happen if we went on a break or fully broke up. I was not trying to punish her for being open to polyamory. Mary and I are both bi and, when I was in my last year of high school I was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a teaching assistant. He was arrested and registered as a sex offender, but during the time we were involved, he convinced me to be with other people as well. He effectively pimped me out for a year and physically assaulted me when I eventually said no and tried to cut him off. Mary knew all of the above, as she helped me through it at the time, and I was very clear that I can't do something like that again. I know that what I went through wasn't an actual open relationship, but it was very much framed as one and that has stuck with me. I would never put down other people for doing it, but I made this all very clear to Mary in the other serious relationship I was in before her. I've carried a lot of issues from then into future relationships, and I am in therapy and have worked with Mary to not punish her for what other people have done to me, but for as great and supportive Mary was, she did have an issue with trying to gaslight me. She would say one thing and then, typically during an argument, would vehemently argue otherwise and genuinely make me question myself. It took her coming to therapy with me, and me sometimes showing her texts, for her to realize this was a problem and we had been working on it together. Me recording her was still not right, but it wasn't an attempt to gather something incriminating, it was just a response. It was a poor response that I shouldn't have done, but it wasn't malicious nor did I intend to send it to anyone at the time. Also, since making this post and reading your replies, I have gone back to her parents to apologize. I did initially try and tell them that she wasn't being honest and that I wanted to keep things private, but they kept going on about me being immature and that this was disappointing. I'll be honest, I got a bit angry again rereading some of their messages, but it really didn't warrant me outing Mary the way I did. I appreciate everyone's judgment. Update 1. I came to this sub because my mind was all over the place yesterday and you all helped me clear it up a little, even the people who clearly weren't trying to be helpful. As a result, on reflection, I'm not sorry for recording her. I understand that people don't like the idea of being recorded by an intimate partner, especially when having an intimate conversation, and you, naturally, support Mary on that front out of solidarity, but all I can say is, you do not know what Mary is like or what our relationship was like either. A little before she came to therapy with me, and the incident that pushed me to try and get her to come with me, Mary texted me to pick her up a Smarties McFlurry on the way home from work. When I brought it home and gave it to her, she told me she asked for a Dairy Milk one they don't even do here anymore, and rolled her eyes at me not listening to her again. Trying to show her what she had sent led to a 15-minute shouting match which resulted in her throwing her ice cream at the wall and shattering my phone screen. That's one incident of many. She once told me I was flirting for holding the door open for a group because there were girls you were clearly trying to impress with them, and went on such a long tirade about my male chivalry was just a selfish way to gain attention from women beyond her. I am not apologizing anymore for recording her. I wouldn't have had such a visceral need to defend myself if I wasn't with someone who kept hurting me. I made that recording because I knew she would lie, and she did. But I thought she would lie to me, not to other people, and I wanted it strictly so I had her words, they're on my phone, should she start claiming she said anything else. At the end of the day though, we didn't end up having any of that and we parted maturely. I understand that a lot of you won't believe that was my intention, and I'll just have to live with that. Beyond all that, I am still sorry for sending it to her parents as a way to get back at her. Her parents have always been very pro-LGBTQ+, so although it wasn't right to out her, I was massively overthinking them harming her or kicking her out. At most, exposing her interest in polyamory would have embarrassed her, but nothing I shared would have put her in any danger. That being said, I saw red during that exchange and saw this as a way to finally show people I wasn't misremembering things. It was spiteful and vindictive, and I can see so many different ways I could have dealt with the situation more calmly, but I was angry and I didn't do any of them. And for that I am still sorry. Like I said in the edit to my previous post, I apologize to her parents. I apologized for getting angry, cussing them out, and for sharing private information about their daughter to them. I fully acknowledged that I was being spiteful and that it was a harsh escalation of a response. Anne and Paul, what I'll call them for this post, accepted it at face value, but asked if I could come over for lunch this afternoon so we could have an actual conversation. It was nice, but really awkward too. Mary wasn't there. I apologized again and Paul and Anne said they were sorry for interfering and not giving me a chance to tell my side. We both agreed we'd acted inappropriately and that, going forward, we wouldn't involve ourselves in this topic. Left things on relatively better terms, but I'm not going to talk to them for a while. Above everything, they are Mary's parents and they will always be in her corner, as parents should be, so keeping my distance is in everyone's best interests. As for Mary, she unblocked me late last night and let loose a tirade of angry messages. They mostly, of course, consisted of how creepy and disgusting I was for recording her. Again, I recorded her because I knew she'd lie and all she did was prove my point, to which, despite still cussing me out, she had no real response for. I got from her, Anne and Paul, that things are understandably awkward, after what I'd shared, but she's still staying with them, for the time being. They've not discussed it with her, beyond letting her know they'd heard the recording and now knew she'd lied, but there has been no indication of negative consequences. And that's it. I'm reeling from 4 years of a relationship being over, of my girlfriend and best friend using my own trauma as a way to make me break up with her and then pretending everything was okay just to lie about me behind my back. But what is hurting me more is how I only now understand, from reading replies to my post and talking to my friends, that I was with yet another abuser and I am nowhere near as strong, or as over what happened to me, as I thought. Thanks for your help. Oop. In addition to my post, I want to make something crystal clear. The people still going through the comments claiming that Mary asking for an open relationship is some indicator of modern women, or her, being inherently promiscuous, or using it to push some narrative, were weird and annoying. In addition, the people who deliberately skewed the order of events and or tried to patronizingly psychoanalyze me, to try and frame me as worse than I actually am, were especially unhelpful. I understand that what I did struck a nerve with a lot of people, and I wholeheartedly recognize how I did not do what a lot of people would have preferred I do in that situation, but I came to this sub for advice and judgment. So, please judge me for what I did, not what you think I did. Now on to second story. Boyfriend moved in 3 weeks ago, my things started disappearing and reappearing, and his angry denial is making me question reality. My boyfriend of 5 months just moved in with me 3 weeks ago. He had some problems with his apartment, damp walls, and it has to be renovated. As my roommate is currently spending some time abroad, I told him it would be okay if he stayed at my place for 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be able to move back to his own apartment by that time. So, now we've been living together for 3 weeks and things started out great. Jealousy had been a bit of a problem between us because we often go out separately probably once a week, but coming home to the same apartment helped him get over his unjustified jealousy. But there has been one new problem. Now, this may seem petty at first, but I'm really at my wit's end with this one. Ever since he moved in with me, things started disappearing and then reappearing one day later in the same place they were missing from. I'm talking about documents, small household items and food. And it's not like losing keys and then finding them again somewhere. I specifically look for something in a certain place where it isn't, but is there the next day. For example, I like to take a chocolate bar with me to work in the morning, and for that, I normally have a pack of chocolate bars at home. Shortly after he moved in with me, I woke up to find all the chocolate was gone. I asked him about it, he said he didn't know anything about it. I come home just to find the chocolate bars are in the cupboard again. I ask him, he says he doesn't know anything about it. Maybe you just didn't see them in the morning. We're talking about a large pack with about 12 chocolate bars, how can I not see that? At first, I thought it was maybe some strange kind of humor, but he seems angry when I bring it up and it's starting to really piss me off, because sometimes, it's been items belonging to one of my friends that I wanted to give back to them and then couldn't, or it was certain documents I needed for a certain day. Now, I have absolutely no idea what this is about. I am not crazy, I just don't understand at all. He gets really angry when I talk about it, saying I'm making this up just to cause drama. Why should I? Update 1. After I read all your comments and did some reading on gaslighting, I was really freaked out. Plenty of you told me there were other red flags in our relationship. It got me thinking and more stuff came to mind that should have worried me a long time ago. Our whole relationship felt pretty rushed from the start. I didn't even want to date, but he showered me with romantic gifts / gestures / date ideas / texts, and I finally gave in. He was pretty upset when I didn't want to say I love you from the start, when I didn't want him to meet my family right away, when I didn't want to have sex without a condom, you don't trust me, and when I didn't want to book an expensive vacation with him. He was very jealous and didn't want me to go out without him, although he went out with his friends all the time. He made me cancel plans to spend time with him and then stood me up. He logged into my Facebook and changed my relationship status one day after we started dating as a surprise. I actually did worry at that, but thought he was just bad at making surprises. As someone pointed out, all the stuff that has gone missing had something to do with me leaving the house or meeting friends and family. A gift for my friend, the key to my parents' house, a USB stick I borrowed, documents for an application for a semester abroad, which we had a huge fight about because he didn't want me to go, etc. After I read all about gaslighting, I ordered a nanny cam. Unfortunately, the delivery took 4 days, and after day 1 I already knew I couldn't be with him any longer. I wanted him out of the apartment ASAP and with as little drama as possible. I told him that my roommate had gotten a really interesting job offer and would cut her vacation short and come home in a week, so he had to move out. He was pretty angry, but I told him that there was nothing I could do. I also told him, as some of you suggested, that his landlord had to get him a place to stay and that he should call him. The next day, he told me that he had talked to his landlord and he could move back in his own flat on the following weekend. The renovations had not taken as long as planned. At this point, I doubt the apartment ever had damp walls to begin with, but who knows. In the evening he asked me if I wanted to move in with him because it works so well and you don't like your roommate anyway. I never even said that. I told him sure, I would move in with him in June. He was pretty excited about it. While I was waiting for the nanny cam to arrive, there was one incident when something went missing, a book that I had ordered for my dad over Amazon and wanted to bring him the next day. At least that's what I told my BF. Of course, in the morning, the book was gone. I chose to ignore it and he reacted quite strange to it, even asked me on my way out if I had taken the book with me. Why on earth would he ask that if he didn't expect a reaction from me? I just asked, what book? The book you wanted to bring your dad. I don't know what you're talking about. In the evening, the book was on my desk again, of course, and I ignored it again. 2 hours later, he casually walks by my desk and says, "Ah, that's the book I was talking about." I just said, "Oh, that book." He seemed pretty angry for the rest of the evening. 2 days later, the nanny cam finally arrived. I set it up while he was at the gym and again, when he was there, placed a letter I needed for work on my desk. I wasn't surprised at all when it was gone a few hours later and reappeared the next day. When I finally was alone at home again and could check out the nanny cam evidence, I only saw what I already knew. He took the letter while passing the desk, put it in his gym bag and put it back a few hours later. However, as soon as I saw the evidence, I decided against confronting him. To be honest, I was scared of his reaction and had already decided to break it off as soon as possible. Also, the camera didn't show me his motive and I figured he probably wouldn't tell me anyway. However, it frustrated me very much that I would probably never know why he did it, and on the last evening before he moved back to his newly renovated apartment, I told him I wanted to watch an old movie called Gaslight. Thanks for the tip, everybody. It really is a great movie. He sat with me through the whole movie, but was quieter than usual while I talked the whole time about how unrealistic the movie was and that he was obviously insane. I actually expected some kind of reaction from him, but he just sat there looking nervous. On Sunday, he took all his stuff back to his apartment. My brother had organized someone to come and change the locks, and as soon as that was done, I wrote my BF a text telling him that it was over. I had no interest in being contacted again, that our breakup was final, and I thought it was very sad that he had to hide my things to keep the relationship interesting. Since then, he called me more or less non-stop, but I haven't picked up and I won't. I know, this isn't the most heroic or exciting ending. I could have confronted him with the video evidence, but instead I cowardly broke up with a text message. However, I really didn't want to confront him and have a dramatic fight. I just wanted it to be over as soon and as smoothly as possible. If there's anything I've learned from this, it's to not rush into a relationship. For the past 7 years, I've jumped from one later to the next, and I think it's time to stay single for a while and concentrate on my college classes. For now, I'm going to stay at my brother's for 2 or 3 weeks, and I should probably change my phone number. I'm sorry that I can't give you any insight on why he did it. It may have been kleptomania, a prank, or messing with my stuff because something about me frustrated him. I will probably never know. In all the texts he sent me, it only says that he doesn't know what I'm talking about and he never took my things. Update 2. In the past few weeks I've gotten some messages asking if I'm okay/still alive, so I thought I'd write one more update. I'd love to give you an overall happy update, but unfortunately, the breakup didn't go as smoothly as I first thought it would. I never picked up when my ex called me and never wrote back to one of his countless messages, but I read most of them, and there was a certain shift in his messages after about 4 days when he suddenly went from this, "I love you and miss you so much. I don't know what you think I have done, but I can assure you I didn't do anything wrong. Whoever told you that is a liar. Please give me another chance." To this, "You're such a whiny bitch. No wonder you can't hold up a relationship with anyone. I hate you and there's no second chance for us no matter how much you wish for that. For your own sake, pray to not ever run into me again." I blocked his number later that same week, but had an overall bad feeling when some strange things happened. Some friends of mine called to ask if I'm okay, and they were all under the impression I had broken up with him because I wanted to concentrate on my mental health. Twice, I came to work and everyone was surprised to see me because someone had called to let them know I wasn't feeling well enough for working. When I asked who that was, they said he told them he was my doctor. Also, my ex wrote to my mom on Facebook. They actually never met in person !, pretending to be a concerned friend asking about my well-being after my latest breakdown. It was very easy to clear some of that stuff up, especially with my family, but it was harder to do so at work. After 3 weeks at my brother's, I decided to move back into my own apartment, which was not a good idea. On the second evening I saw my ex in front of the building, and then I saw him at least every other day, standing on the other side of the street just looking across. After about a week, someone started to ring the bell at 3 a.m. for 5 days straight. Also, 3 times I came home and found a little piece of paper in front of my door with a flame drawn on it. It creeped me out so much that he somehow managed to get into the building. I grew more and more afraid to leave the apartment and finally decided to move back in with my brother and his family. My friend, whom I shared the apartment with and who is currently abroad, didn't take too well to the whole story. She was furious when she heard I changed the locks without telling her, and even more furious when I told her I'd be moving out because that was not what we initially agreed upon. However, I just can't go back there. In hindsight though, I probably should have involved her more in the process. I did ask her parents if it was okay to change the locks as it is their apartment, but I didn't speak to her about it. I feel really shitty about letting him stay in her apartment in the first place. I also went to the police to get a restraining order. It was a surprise to me how hard it is to get one of those. I needed not only evidence of him harassing me but also evidence of him threatening my safety. However, after long hours and much patience from my SIL, I got one. The bright side is that I got approved for my semester abroad, which starts in October. To not burden my brother any longer, I will already leave in August and maybe travel around a bit. I'm already in a Facebook group with all the other exchange students that will spend the next semester there, and I think I certainly won't be alone. When I'll come back, I'll be looking for a small apartment on my own. I still don't have Amazon Prime. I'm sorry.